Empty. Full. Yes, full indeed. Full indeed of MG ZR 120 5-door. Discs on the back. Ooh, that's a special one, isn't it? Look at the colour of this. What a fantastic colour. It is the ignition blue, the most wonderful colour they did in one of these. God, who do I sound like that? Not me, anyway.
Skip the introduction. Skip the introduction. Skip the introduction. Skip. Thank you.
This silver car here is called Brian Johnson because of its number plate. And the Firefrost red that I used to have was called Boris Johnson because of its number plate. So what about this one? What am I going to call this one? Because it's the same. Okay, I think it's fair to say that battery's a bit goosed, but no matter, because the battery can be charged, and it will be charged. Yeah, I'll put it charged tomorrow actually. So, what do you reckon? Nice, isn't it? What a nice colour. Pity about the bumper, but it's not broken, it's just in the back. A very, very tidy condition indeed. It's got a couple of marks here and there, but nothing really too significant. And it's got a couple of bits like that there. That will probably just polish out. Look down there, no corrosion. Even the wings are free of rust. How unusual is that on a ZR? Like some mystical black magical thing on the go there or something like that. So what's wrong with it? Well, with the bonnet open it all becomes clear, I'm afraid. Yeah, there's no belt on the alternator. It's got a brand new alternator, right? But somehow the belt got snapped fitting it. The engine bay's all nice and clean otherwise. Well, I mean, it is nice and clean. There's no coolant in there because it wants some in. Yeah, it's all been bled off. Not because there's anything wrong with it, but I think he was changing the coolant. And he just got distracted and stopped changing the coolants. There's the bumper back on. That looks a bit better. It'll look better once it's actually fitted. Then there won't be that big gap there then, but still better than it being in the boot. Inside we have these half blue leather seats. Rather dapper, aren't they? The headlining is sagging a bit there, but I'm sure this has been refurbished actually because it feels a bit softer than they normally do. Obviously it's not sticking to the roof very well there. Come here, little fluffy friend. There's the engine on. Slightly fruity tailpipe. Sounds very smooth otherwise. Yeah, listen to that. Very nice. Very nice sounding engine. That's very good news. I like it. I like it a lot. And it's got excellent tyres all round as well on these 17-inch straights, which I'm never fond of these wheels particularly, but they do suit this car. They suit it even more when they've got good tyres on. Probably the moment I take this off, it will stop. No, not quite. Well, almost. So, wanting to name this car after its initials of BJ, like I've done with the other ones, it's proving to be a bit tricky because I've had Brian Johnson, I've had Boris Johnson, there are other Brian's something else J, and there are Bennys and other things, but they're all people I've never heard of. So I was going to ask for a suggestion, but instead I think I've got it. Yeah, I'm going to call this Benny Jazz Max. I'd like to say thank you because I've just passed 2,000 subscribers. So thank you to those new subscribers for making that happen. But also thank you to all of the existing subscribers, because without you, the new ones wouldn't make it to 2,000, would they? I'd still be under 2,000, depending on how many of you weren't actually there. For example, if there was 500 of you that never subscribed in the first place, I'd have to wait for another 500. You get the gist. So, thank you. Well, not the new ones, all the old ones, but in fact all of you, every single one of you, thank you. Gosh, that was difficult to explain. Same again, £60 and 1 in diesel. The only trouble is, when I spent £60 and 1 pence on diesel earlier on in the week, it was 2 pence a litre cheaper. £1.91 a litre. Oh, I don't know more about it, but obviously I'm getting less fuel now for the same amount of money. And I did think, well, today I'm not going quite as far as I did the other day. So I went to Birmingham the other day. Today I'm going to Humberside. But if it's more expensive, I need to spend more money getting the same amount. Disappointing. Yeah. Speaking of disappointing, I ate rounds of bread there, but it's not got egg mayonnaise on. Now, give up on the eggs after the last time. I think I had a bit of an egg overload. So I made the kind of cheese and onion mayonnaise thing. So, would you like to know how to make that? No, you wouldn't. I won't bother telling you. I will tell you, however, though, that the eggs I used last week, I used 6 eggs that were about 2 weeks out of date. And my wife said you shouldn't eat them, but I said I should. And I'll leave the other 24 eggs in the fridge. And you test them. You can test them by dropping them in some water. If they float, they're full of gas and you shouldn't chuck them. Preferably it's someone you don't like. If they don't float in the sink, they're perfectly fine. That's more reliable than going off the gate. Something smells of burning rubber, and I hope it's not me. But then I hope it's not that tanker either, or this caravan. Well, only just set off and there's problems on the road. And again it is Friday. Why do I want to go along the M62 on a Friday? Why would I want to do that? Why am I doing it? Well, to go and collect a car, of course. Stop that, it's silly. Can you imagine if my videos were not silly? Or in fact, imagine if I cut out all of the silly bits from my videos. How much would there be left? Not much. I wonder if I would have fewer or more subscribers if I wasn't silly. What's a question? I reckon it'd be. I don't think I'd be doing it, so it's irrelevant. Why does it smell like meat along here? I always seem to film this bridge as I go by, but it's fascinating. That bridge was a massive feat of engineering and ingenuity in the late 60s, or was it? No, early 70s I think it was. Stamford Bridge. Look it up if you want to. If you're interested. If you're not interested, don't. Whilst in slow moving traffic, maybe I will tell you how I made my sandwich, because it's rather nice. It is grated cheese, chopped up fine red onion, big dollop of mustard, mayonnaise of course, and balsamic vinegar, and Lots of white pepper. Very nice. If you don't like that, you can just skip ahead. I know other people do it. My friend Term told me yesterday he sometimes skips bits of my video. I blocked him now. This isn't a good start at all. Very disappointed. Now I'm beginning to wonder whether I should have set off earlier. But 2 hours is more than enough to do 84 miles. Well, the good news is that there isn't any good news. What's that on about? Sat-nav's telling me that the traffic is unusually heavy. So it's going to take me knocking on for 2 hours to do 66 miles. That's not enough. That's not good enough. That's really disappointing. How can I cope with such a thing? Oh, there's a nice lady just smiling at me then. Maybe she knows me. Seems to be clearing up. Maybe everybody's on their way to Dewsbury. Although the signs are saying there's more trouble ahead. That's quite a tidy old Fiesta that I'm not particularly interested in. I've been avoiding filming because my battery power's going down even though it's plugged in. And then the screen comes on to tell me that the phone is charging slowly. How does that help me? I already know that. All that does is waste power, sticking the screen on to tell me that it's not charging very quickly. I was hoping that maybe all these people were going to Bradford, but they're not going there either by the looks of it. When people have something in common, they often become friends. And is it the same on the motorway? Do we become friends because we're all in a jam together? No, we don't. And the worst thing is that we know that many of these people will be feeling rather angry, bitter. That S430, that's an expensive car in its day. Looks a little bit worse for wear now though. I wonder where it's off to. Is it going for restoration? Or is it going for a scrappy do? Probably scrappy do. It's a shame because it's a nice car. Well, it would be without all that rust on it. Perfect. At last, a clear road. But I know what's coming on the return journey. It's going to be even worse, isn't it? Mind you, if all this traffic is here because people have been allowed to go home early on a Friday, by the time I come back, they should already be at home. The pen is mightier than the sword. Have you ever heard that one before? I'm sure you have. But is it true? I mean, is it really true? Because, I mean, the kind of person that carries a sword around isn't likely to understand or really get what you're doing in writing. They're more likely to just carry on flinging their sword around. And the other point is as well, with the sword, you can draw blood. And if you write in blood, that delivers a very powerful message indeed. At last, we pass the A1, or passing the A1. That is the moment the M62 becomes empty. It's true, nobody really lives east of the A1, do they? Now that's the trouble. I'm going to get to Humber and find that there's nobody there. Well, apparently one costly traffic jam isn't enough. This is not a particularly interesting section of the motorway. The only thing it has going for it is it's always clear. At least I am behind a Toyota CHR. I've been wanting to talk about this car for quite a while because, rather unusually, the makers of Toyota decided they were going to copy a car known for being really ugly. That car being the Nissan Juke. And they've done a very good job of making it look exactly the same, except much more angular and much more ugly as well. I don't really bash the Nissan Juke for its looks, because I think at least it looks different. It didn't look like everything else. But just the idea of copying something and then seeing if you can make it look worse just bemuses me. And then people buy it because they think, I fancy a Nissan Juke, but I want it to be a bit more ugly. Oh, there's a new Toyota knocking about. Never travel on a Friday. Ever again. Emergency repairs, apparently. That's another 10 minutes gone by and still nothing exciting happening. Noise! Actually not too far off now, but before I even get there, I've got a real treat. As you may know, this is the Humber Bridge, possibly the most spectacular bridge in the entire of the UK. It is an absolute magnificent piece of work. The longest suspension bridge in the world at one point. Not any longer, but it's worth the £1.50 to drive across. Very windy on here as well. It doesn't look like a particularly windy day, but the cap's doing a bit of the old shimmering and plenty of noise through that window there, which you can probably hear. What a spectacular place that must be to stay or live or have a beer in. While I'm still on the Humber Bridge, baking away here, I'll tell you about this car, of what I know about it so far. It is an MG ZR 120 5-door in ignition blue. What a wonderful colour ignition blue is, and what a wonderful engine. I'm sure the 1.8 litre 120 brake horsepower engine actually is. He said it feels quite good, and he's got an Audi S3, so I reckon the Audi will be a bit quicker, but this will be a bit more interesting. So one thing I'm noticing about this Humber Bridge here, it looks almost like it's new, like it's just been built. It's all clean and shiny, and the pathways on the road, there's no litter or anything anyway. It's really you know, quite a proud moment to see something as nice as this in Britain. It hasn't been ruined by people. I probably should have gone in the tag lane after all. Right here, the return journey, the bit I like the best. The motorway's cleared up according to my sat nav. I've got my car in the back, I've got my armrest, and I've only got about 75 miles to go now after the Humber Bridge. So time to crack open another sandwich. Brrr! Yep, I was there before. Horrible, isn't it? The inevitable happens. It is another jam. Another bit of congestion at least. There's only one good thing I can say about this. It does make it easier for me to pour myself a cup of tea. I mean, it would do if I had any. There's a Toyota Yaris with the obligatory bent bit underneath the bumper. How many times have you seen a Toyota Yaris without that bit bent? It's probably never. Well, this happens quite a lot, where you'll get somebody come tearing past you, and then as soon as they passed you in front of you, they jump on their brakes. And the reason is, chiefly, they're stupid, but the other one is that they want to get past you, but in order to do it, they go faster than they want to go. So then they have to slow down. They have to slow down right in front of you by jumping on their brakes. That's happened about 6 times in the past 20 minutes. I don't like to stereotype, but the people that do this thing where they just get in front of you and then jump on the brakes, it always seems to be young ladies in relatively new cars. And that shows that it's just something they don't understand. That's really it. You never see it with middle-aged men in kind of old cars. It's always young women in new cars. If I had a daughter who was of an age to be driving, I would be hammering it home about you. Don't just jump on your brakes in front of other cars, particularly anything heavy. Why aren't you men doing it, eh? Just driven past a field with about 60 cows in it. And I know you would have really liked to have seen them, and I'm sorry I didn't get a shot of it. But I can still smell them now. What an amazing smell. I mean, what an amazing amount of smell from the cows. Basically food.